Hi, I'm Chris Hamby here with at Missional Voices at Christ Church in New Orleans, because Indianapolis was last year. In New Orleans, here with Jay Sidebotham, who is the executive director of Renewal Works. Welcome, Jay.
Nice to be with you.
So, can you tell anyone that's never heard of Renewal Works briefly what Renewal Works is, what it does, and what you've learned?
So Renewal Works is a ministry of forward movement, which is a ministry of the Episcopal Church, which is really forward movement's been focused for over 75 years on deepening personal spiritual practices for Episcopalians. And Renewal Works is sort of an offshoot of that. It's been in existence for 5 years. It's a ministry that works with congregations to help them identify what are the spiritual practices of the people in the congregation and how can Episcopal congregations build cultures of discipleship among their people. So that's what we try to do. It's church consultancy, to say it crassly.
So, what have you learned over these last 5 years with Renewal Works about the Episcopal Church and about what's going on?
So we have learned a lot of things. We've worked with over 300 congregations and about 14,000 Episcopalians, and we've learned that we are a denomination that is spiritually hungry, that people, for the most part, are eager to grow spiritually, and they're not sure how to do that, and they're not sure that their leaders are helping them do that. We are an older denomination. We are a denomination that's relatively affluent. We are a denomination that is filled with people who've been in church for a long time, but may not have really been challenged or thought about their own spiritual journey and how they go deeper in that. So that's our sweet spot. That's where we try to meet with people and really say, here's how you can go deeper in your spiritual life. Here's what you can work on. Here's how leaders can help you do that.
So if a church wanted to be part of this Renewal Works or get your guidance, or not your guidance, but Renewal Works guidance,
right?
How would they go about doing that?
So it's run through Forward Movement, and it's basically at its core, it's about a 4-month process, 3 or 4 month process that begins with everybody in the congregation taking an online, anonymous, confidential inventory, which really asks them about their own spiritual journey. So that's the starting point, and it just asks everybody to tell us in some way where they are spiritually. What are their practices? What do they believe? What do they care about? What annoys them in the church? All of that stuff. And then there's a small group from a parish that will work together to discern, looking at where the parish is right now and where it feels called to go. So identify some simple next steps that the congregation can take to really go deeper in spirituality and in discipleship.
Do you see anything that you've heard today or in the past at Missional Voices? How does that could maybe intersect with the work of Renewal Works, or how can they inform each other?
No, this is totally in the wheelhouse, and it's interesting. Lorenzo talked this morning about the importance of engaging with Scripture as leading people to greater church attendance. And we find that for people in their own spiritual journey, the great transformation comes across the board, across denominations, across church size, across geography. If people are engaged with Scripture, that's transformative. The other piece is that spiritually vital congregations are involved in something that we call pastoring the community, which is really knowing what God is up to in the neighborhood. So it's being connected to the neighborhood, it's living into our baptismal covenant of outreach, and it's working in partnership with the community to bring healing, to bring transformation.
And finally, where do you see all this going in 10 years? If you could predict, look into the crystal ball.
Well, that's a fun question. That's a fun question. I mean, I would love for every church in the Episcopal in the denomination to do this process. I think it would be valuable. One of the things we do is invite a church to take this process and then in 3 or 4 years to see how things have changed. So I could see churches repeatedly doing this. It is a tool. It's an instrument. It may be just for a season or it may be for forever. But it's really about getting Episcopalians to talk with each other about where they are spiritually and how they want to grow. So I think it could go widely. We are beginning to work in Canada, and we've got some interest in England. We are beginning to work with other denominations. So I think it's kind of an unlimited horizon for where this work could go, based on this basic premise that I think basically people are spiritually hungry. And the churches aren't always addressing that. So my hope is that we can do that. Feed the hungry, boom. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay, for joining us here at Missional Voices in New Orleans.
Privilege.